Students at a high school in Ashford, Alabama, got a hold of a faculty member's phone and discovered then circulated screenshots of a racist group chat among their teachers. In that chat, at least 6 teachers gossiped about their Black students, commented on their sex lives and levels of intelligence, and even used the N word to describe some of them. A parent says this validates her son's repeated claims that he was experiencing racism at school. Listen to this.
That goes to show that every time when he was letting them know that they was being racist to him, that it was true when the principal was saying that it wasn't. It had to be true for you to put this in a group chat.
So the school district won't release the names of the teachers involved, but the superintendent says they've been placed on administrative leave. He also said, quote, there is a lot of gray areas when it comes to anything that takes place on a cell phone. I don't think it's gray at all. Seems very black and white to me, no pun intended. So, Charles, you're the lawyer. Is there a gray area here?
I think that there is a gray area if you're looking at the letter of the law. And I'll tell you, one of the important things to understand about unpacking this is the conversation about the strength of the teachers union, right? So a lot of times we have conversations about policing and things of that nature, and people underestimate the strength of unions and how strong unions are. That's also a big part of this conversation that people really may not understand. And that's the gray area, if you will. You can't just summarily make a termination or not extend someone's contract in the middle of something. There's a due process that has to take place. And if there is a gray area, it's that area of whatever due process is due to them based off of something that they were doing that was discovered because, as I understand it, a student who was using a teacher's phone saw the text messages, screenshotted them, and then sent them. So the method of recovery is really what we're talking about as far as the gray area. Now, what I will say is for a school district, for a superintendent, for a principal that is actually committed to creating a culturally competent environment that is safe for young people of color, that this is a situation that would still allow them to take action after the administrative suspensions and leave was done. They can still actually terminate these teachers. It's just going to take a little bit longer because there's more bureaucracy to deal with and more red tape. But it's very cut and dry. It's very straightforward in terms of what we all know and can agree needs to be done. It's just a matter of sort of navigating the channels that exist for making sure that once a decision is made, that it's not challenged and appealed and they end up back in the classroom.
So, Shaina, are these teachers at fault or was their privacy invaded?
I think the teachers are specifically absolutely at fault. And I had a question about in terms of privacy, because I thought for public schools, when you are in a public school, there is no privacy because don't they have the right to inspect students' lockers or whatever if there is cause to think that there is an issue? So I thought, and I'm not the legal expert here, so I don't know if there's gray area there, but I thought, as far as I know, that there really isn't any privacy because they were on school grounds. And
that's usually a matter of, what you're talking about is usually a matter of criminal, illegality. Text messages that are saying disparaging remarks about students, even as they may be racially charged, don't go into that realm of, violating criminal. If they thought
couldn't it be a hate crime though, which would be criminal?
It wouldn't be a hate crime because they haven't actually done anything to the students, right? So if they thought, for example, that these teachers were running guns or doing some wild shit, just texting each other, then they could absolutely search the phones. But, they're talking about students in a derogatory
But
way.
weren't the students also complaining that they felt like the teachers were being unfair to them? So if there's a clear bias there, and this kind of proves that the teachers had a bias towards the students, then that could be considered, and this is just me and my law and order legal mind.
It's a creative argument, but I think it's not the strongest argument.
Right.
I think, quite frankly, the school has enough to terminate these folks. It's just going to be a question of when and how they do it. It would be no different, if you will, if someone had a private Facebook page and they were on TV, or on their Facebook feed in blackface. One of the teachers were on their, Facebook feed in blackface, shouting the N-word or what have you, and someone took that and sent it to the school. They can still fire them even though your Facebook page is closed, even though this was off campus or outside of school. It just would take some time.
And that has happened.
Yes, it has. Well, which is why I use the example. Absolutely.
Well, Joseph, can these students ever trust their teachers again?
Absolutely not.
Hell no.
Hell no. Exactly. Hell no. You can't. It's no way possible.
It's Alabama too, so it's like this
Yeah,
is not
but
surprising.
it's like,
You gotta hit him with the
you know,
hell no.
you know, yeah, I understand it's Alabama and stuff, right? And while certain things in that type of environment, you may expect that sometimes things are being said to you like that. There's no way in hell you should be able to go into somebody's phone and read those type of comments about yourself. I mean, honestly, I don't see what's taking them so long to get rid of them. It's not right.
This is an important conversation around structural racism and systemic oppression in this country. I don't think that any of us at this table are incredibly surprised that this took place. However, it is really important for us to, as a community, make sure that we know that these stories exist and continue to have conversations about these stories, because for too many of our young people and their families, they are continuously gaslit into believing that we are crazy when we see something and call it for what it is. When we see racism and we see systemic oppression in our faces and we call it for what it is, there are too many people who will tell us that we're tripping, we're playing the race card, and so on and so forth. And so these stories are critically important to continue to talk about so that people understand in 2019, these issues still remain.
Well, the teachers are being allowed to obtain legal counsel and will have a hearing before the local Board of Education, but I just don't see how they can continue to teach when those students know that their teachers don't like or believe in them. Well, we'll see what happens.